Thanks for joining us for part 2 of our test of the R1300 RT. In this video, I'm going to talk about a few different aspects of the bike. I'm going to answer some of your questions from your earlier videos and give you a bit more of an overall of what I think of the R1300 RT. To start with, it's a great bike on winding roads when you're touring. It's not a sports bike, but it's also not a Grand American Tourer or a massive Goldwing, that sort of thing. It's more compact, it's lighter, it's smaller than those bigger, heavier full dressers, and yet it's still big enough, comfortable enough, it can carry a fair load for two people if you want something that is a little bit shorter in the wheelbase, a little bit nicer on roads like this, and is the sort of bike that you take on winding roads rather than big freeways. Here come a bunch of bikes now. So one of the big questions we've been getting is relating to comfort. And from a comfort perspective, this is a very comfortable motorcycle. Is it as comfortable as a Goldwing, as a Grand American Tourer, as one of the big Indians? Well, that's up to you to decide that. But what I can say is that at 6'1", it's about 185 centimetres, maybe 187, something like that. I'm a fairly tall guy, so I find the seat to foot peg distance a little bit shorter than I'd really like. There are some adjustable footrests available through the accessory catalogue, which I need to investigate further to find out more information about what they exactly do, but I do know they're available, which is interesting. Now, I've put the seat in the higher position, so there's a mechanism at the back and the front of the seat that lets you adjust it for both height and tilt, so you can actually have it higher at the back and lower at the front, or vice versa, depending on what you like. And this particular seat, I find I can move forward and back a little bit to change the way the pressure points on my butt are and how it feels. And generally speaking, I can ride this bike all day and not suffer from leg cramps or hip cramps or anything. But that said, I'd like a little bit more distance between the seat and the footrest, which of course is one of the reasons why people buy GSs, things like that, because they offer that little bit extra room. Now, when I'm on this bike with it in the high position, I can usually get my feet flat on the ground without any real dramas at all. But it is still a fair reach to the ground. The advantage with that is cornering clearance. So riding these bikes through the mountains of Austria and Germany, I've had no problems with cornering clearance. I haven't been trying to set lap records. I'm here to go touring, not scratching. But that said, there's plenty of times where I've scraped motorcycles when I haven't really been trying, if they haven't had the cornering clearance available. Now, one of the comments on the video was that there's a set, you can replace the standard aluminium setup here for the handlebars with a conventional set of handlebars. And I absolutely love that idea. I really commend BMW for offering that because that means you'll be able to put different bars on there, giving you different heights, pullback, and getting a position that you really like. Hopefully there's enough flexibility in the length of the hoses, and I think there will be, to make that process relatively painless. But I really like that idea because personally, again, as a tall man, I find these handlebars just a little bit lower than I would really like. However, on roads like this with lots of twists and turns, it is nice to be able to sort of lean into those handlebars and treat it a little bit sportier and enjoy the ride. So this is how the bike looks when it's parked beside the side of the road, but when you're belting down a freeway and it's cold and wet and miserable, you've got this panel up here to give you more protection here, and you've got the screen in any position from right down low to right up high, and this gives you a lot of protection. I can just look through it, and it's really, really comfortable. Different screens are available. I think this is the touring screen that came with this particular bike. This particular bike does have a whole bunch of factory accessories on it, and I have to work out exactly which ones. So if I can't do that for this video, I'll definitely do it for the next. Value for money. it's a really interesting point with this bike. We've had a lot of comments about how the bike is too expensive, the bike, you know, you should just wait and buy a second-hand one. Well, let's address that point first. If you buy a second-hand one, that's great if you can find the bike you want. However, BMW make this bike in a multitude of colours, multitude of styles. There's the 719 option style. Then there's all the factory accessories that you can choose from and have on your bike if you want them. Things like Dynamic Pro and lots of other things that you have to specify when you order the bike. If you live in Australia, you may not even be able to get them without those things, because the tyranny of distance means that in Australia, a lot of the bikes that arrive have a lot of spec to start with. Then it comes to things like accessories. These panniers are the variable ones, so you can bring them in and out. This bag is a great bag for carrying gear, but you can also get the top box. The top box, if you get it, actually has a heated backrest for your passenger. But if you're the sort of rider who doesn't carry a passenger very often, you might not want that. So there are some big advantages to buying new. You get to choose the bike that you want, the options that you want, the accessories that you want, potentially the colour you want, although if you specify some of the different models, you don't actually get too many choices in that. And you can set it up the way you want for the way you ride. Now, I'm a big one for buying second-hand bikes. I've bought a lot of second-hand bikes, so please don't think I'm just saying this to pander to BMW, because I'm not, because I still think these bikes are very expensive. However, you buy one of these and there's plenty of 20-year-old RTs still out there running around doing big miles. So it's a bike that can last you a really long time. And if you do it that way and you buy it and you keep it for a long time, the cost over each year isn't all that onerous. Now, we've just ridden this bike over the last couple of days from Munich up to Amsterdam via Heidelberg, and we're coming back from Amsterdam now. So this is the route we're following today. I've planned it out in Kalamodo, which I find a lot easier to use, and then exported that as a GPX file and brought it into the BMW Connected Ride app. And then that then plots each section between the points. I still don't think it's a very good system, and I'm still not very happy with it. But it does fit nicely inside this pocket. It's got a USB-C port there to just have a short cable to your phone, and then you can use it. Now, I'm using a Sena 50S communicator on my helmet, and I've tried to connect it to the bike, and basically it was a fail. Yes, it did connect, but it didn't work very well. I didn't like what it did. And so I've actually gone back to having the phone connected to the bike and the phone connected to the headset, which is working much better. I've been asked, one of the questions was, can you use the wheel to control volume and things like that? And no, it doesn't work properly for volume. If you spin it hard enough, it will actually take to mute it, but it won't actually control the volume properly. I think it conflicts with what the Sena thinks it should be. So I'm just controlling the volume with the wheel on the Sena on my helmet. On the positive side, I can control the media. So either a podcast I'm listening to or music. I don't get playlists for some reason, but I still get albums and songs and things like that. And if you start a playlist, it'll play the playlist. But if you you can't select the playlist from the menus. If you are navigating through the BMW app, you can get it. It will still give you the directions through audio through the Sena, and it will also give them to you through the speakers if you choose. If you're using the speakers that are built in, you can control the volume with your with the wheel, and it gets pretty loud. However, I think those speakers are a complete waste of time. I'd much rather have that space devoted to pockets or something more functional and more just lighter, because most of us these days have headsets in our helmets, and that works so much better than using speakers. But you know, there you go, they're here. While you're doing all that, the BMW navigation will still give you audio prompts through the headset as well, which is great. So you can keep track of where you're going, and you can still hear your own media. You've also got the split screen. It's just showing start here, it's not showing the map, but you can actually get it to have the music on one side and the map on the other. Tyres. Now, I've had a few questions about what tyres are on the bike. This one has Michelin Road 6 GTs on it. I'm finding them absolutely fine, absolutely good. Ridden it in the rain, ridden it in the dry, and they've been great. No dramas at all. But the tyres you get on the bike may vary depending on the market you're in, where you're at, and what they had available at the time. They don't put the same tyres on bikes across the whole range anymore because they've had problems with supply of tyres, and also if a tyre manufacturer stops making a tyre down the track, there can be issues with that. So you may not get the same tyres. So the main stand is actually, I think it's an accessory, but either way, it is actually can be assisted. So when you use it, the bike extends the suspension to make it much easier to get it up on the stand than it may otherwise be.
So there's been some questions about the pillion comfort on the BMW R1300 RT. So I thought just to help show you, I'd sit on the back of the bike. I have dodgy knees, I've got arthritis in my knees, and so knee comfort is a big thing for me. I would say this is one of the more comfortable bikes I've been on, just from the height of the seat to the foot peg and the bend in my knee. Is it the absolutely most comfortable? No, but it's pretty good. So I can manage to get through most of the day without feeling too much pain at all. The seat on this bike that we've got is a bit wider than the GS, which for me does make it more comfortable, particularly for touring. And I find the grab rails that again have come with this bike probably optional. These grab rails with the integrated heated grips are really great. I've not had the privilege before of riding a motorcycle with the heated grips, so that's kind of a novelty. Fortunately, unfortunately, it hasn't been quite cool enough for me to test them out. However, the switch is very easily accessible just on the grab rail on this side. The pillion seat that's come on this bike does have a heating element, which again, fabulous, particularly in cooler weather. However, the one gripe that I have, it's very awkward to find the switch where it's positioned on the seat right next to the grab rail. So I would implore BMW to try and find a way to make that switch easier to access with or without the grab rails, just to make it that little bit easier for the pillion.
Thanks for watching our second video on the R1300 RT. Coming up, we've got a Ducati Multistrada V2 lined up for a test, and we're going on tour on a BMW R1300 GSA. So look out for those videos in the future and be notified of them by subscribing and hitting that bell. A like will get this video spread to more people and give us the opportunity to make even more videos. See you on the road.